Face questioning about anti-Semitism within the party. And now an activist has been suspended for a second time. I'm joined by our political correspondent Ross Hawkins. What's been happening, Ross?
Mark, some Labour MPs think the party has a serious problem with anti-Semitism and a problem that's getting worse under Jeremy Corbyn. The background here is the individual in question, Vicky Kirby, was suspended as a member for tweets, including one suggesting Hitler was a Zionist god, and given a formal warning and then readmitted. But all of that happened in 2014, long before Jeremy Corbyn was the leader. It's come up again because she's since become the vice chair of the Woking constituency party. And yesterday I was standing outside the meeting of Labour MPs and peers, the PLP. A question was asked inside, and afterwards the line confirmed to us was that they simply, that if any new evidence came to light, then the Labour Party would then review it. Now, I've not seen any new evidence this morning. What I can tell you has happened, though, is the Northamptonshire Police and Crime Commissioner candidate for Labour, Kevin McKeever, has reported this to Surrey Police and then to the party's compliance unit. Now, Labour are not confirming, but that may have prompted the decision that you've seen within the last hour and a half or so. There just happens to be an NEC meeting going on today, the ruling committee of the Labour Party. There is every chance this will come up, and a strong sense, I think, now of momentum building behind this issue. There is already a Labour inquiry into, among other things, allegations of anti-Semitism elsewhere. The context here is that critics see an issue that just arises again and again with those on the left. But it's important to state, I think, there are also those on the left of the party who accept the sort of comments we see reported here are utterly unacceptable, but fear this issue is being used as a stick to beat the current leadership by its critics.
Thank you very much, Ross. Former Cabinet Minister Lord Mandelson is making a big speech on Europe, and you can hear us talk about that later in the programme. But I also asked him if he was worried about this current row.
Of course it worries me, anti-Semitism,
within
wherever
Labour.
It comes from, and whoever expresses it worries me, and all the more so if it comes from the Labour Party. You know, 99% of the Labour Party would have no truck whatsoever with anti-Semitism, and if there's 1% who are going in that direction, then they need to be confronted and, if need be, stamped out of the party.
And suspended. Or removed.
You heard what I said. If they're expressing views and taking positions that are simply incompatible with the values and the principles that the Labour Party holds dear, then they don't belong in the Labour Party.
Peter Mandelson. I'm joined now by Angela Smith, the Labour MP for Penistone and Stockbridge. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I believe you were one of those who raised this at the PLP yesterday. Are you pleased by the suspension?
Of course I am, and I raised it last night at the Parliamentary Labour Party precisely because, for the same reasons I think that Lord Mandelson has just outlined to you. There is no place in the Labour Party for anti-Semitism. I think Peter Mandelson is right. The vast majority of Labour Party members will have nothing to do with racism or anti-Semitism in any shape or form, and will want us to stamp this problem out, and that's why I raised it last night at the Parliamentary Party.
But there is a problem. It is there, you're saying?
The evidence is accumulating on this. Look, I think we need to be really robust about this, both in terms of how we operate our rule book and also in terms of the culture of the party. And I think I do speak for the vast majority of members when I say that we want a culture in the Labour Party which makes it clear that there is no place for racism in the Labour Party, and we all have a responsibility to confront it and deal with it.
Ross was making the point that some think there are those in the Labour Party who are using this as a stick to beat the left with.
This is not about the left or the right of the Labour Party. This is about basic human decency. Anti-Semitism is dangerous and it just can't be tolerated. I'm not going to allow this to deteriorate into a debate about the left and the right of the Labour Party. There is no place for anti-Semitism in the Labour Party.
Is there a question sometimes that anti-Semitism gets confused with very strong statements about Israel? Are they the same thing?
Well, you know, when we get statements such as Hitler was a Zionist god, and statements such as, ISIS ought to consider bombing Israel. I think it's pretty clear to most people where the demarcation is.
Do you think that's anti-Semitic, though?
Of course it is. Of course it is, and that's why Vicky Kirby has been suspended today. We'll see what comes out of all of that. But surely any right-minded individual would recognise those comments as utterly sickening and totally unacceptable. Is
Jeremy Corbyn doing enough?
Well, I think Jeremy Corbyn has a role to play here as the leader of the Labour Party. And I think, the entire leadership of the Labour Party, the shadow cabinet, really has to get out there and make it absolutely clear that there is no place in the party for this kind of behaviour.
So they're not doing that now?
Well, I think Jeremy could do more. I think Jeremy really needs to come out now and say absolutely, publicly, that he will not tolerate this in the party. He said it privately at the Parliamentary Labour Party last night. I think he needs to come out and say it.
Angela Smith, thank you.
Thank you.